Welcome to Purpose Driven Sobriety. Okay, so welcome to Purpose Driven Sobriety. My name is Christine and I'm an alcoholic. Today's episode, I want to thank so much Eva Hill, who is a dear friend of mine and a supporter of all things recovery. She stepped up and sponsored this episode, so I'm very, very grateful for that. Eva, I love you. Thank you so much. So today, we have a new friend of mine I met through, social media is just really done some things for sobriety and recovery. There's so many cool pages. And so I met Notch on one of the pages. I don't even remember exactly which one it was now. But we got to talking, and you were actually going to fly. You're in Maryland. And you were actually going to fly to Waco. That didn't work out, but so we've kind of agreed we're going to do, I think, a two-parter is what we talked about. So, but what what I wanted to do is get you on here, and what I think it's real important. At one time someone asked me who my audience was, and it is that person. Man, I can go back, 11 years ago, when I was ready to eat a bullet, and I just remember that torture. So that's the person that we're reaching to, just to give hope and relate to. So I've got Mr. Notch on here, and I want to hear what it was like for you. What got you to where you are? What happened, and what you've been doing, and then at the end of our hour, we'll talk about where we're going to go from there.
All right, that sounds good.
Good. Welcome.
Thank you. So my name is Notch. I do live in Maryland. I am 41 years old. For the background on me, I started bartending when I was 20. I was the bar manager at a place called Joe's Crab Shack here in Gaithersburg, Maryland. And, I was making a lot of cash when I was 20 and running a bar and working at a bar 4 nights a week. And I thought that was an awesome life for me. That was really a lot of fun and everything I wanted to do. And I was having a good time. To take my career to the next level, I was dealing with all the beer reps that would come in there on a weekly basis and everything. I got a job with the one beer distributor locally that did Miller and Corona and some of those brands. So I started out at 22 as a merchandiser for a beer distributor. I would drive the Miller Lite van around and build displays and hang up neon signs and stuff. And I got promoted very quickly to a sales route as a sales rep. And I won Salesman of the Year in the company in my first couple years. So all through my 20s, I was 8 years with that beer distributor. I worked my way up into management, and it was a lot of all expenses paid trips to Las Vegas when you were the salesman of the year and different things, and Miller Brewing Company Super Bowl party in Vegas and celebrities and all that. And I turned into an operations manager for the beer distributor. So I was running a warehouse, as the daytime manager there for a couple years. Drinking extremely heavy, all through my 20s. I just partied. I was single, on and off, and had a townhouse, and a hot tub in the backyard. And my roommate was a bartender, and I was a beer rep. And you know what I mean?
Sounds like a perfect life.
Right? I thought so.
Yeah.
I thought I was living though. I thought I was really having a great time and doing everything I ever wanted to do. I did everything. I went to every concert. I went to every football game. I just did it all. And I just drank all through my 20s. I was a party animal. And I was a very highly functional, always held down, succeeded in professionally and worked my way up. And I left the beer distributor to go to work for Pabst Brewing Company, as a retail sales manager for Maryland and Delaware for a while, and I got promoted in that job up to area sales manager. So I was working covering a couple states for Pabst Brewing Company, and that was just happy hours. I had a $46,000 a year expense account, Amex, to go out and just travel and entertainment, get hotel rooms, Ubers, buy bar tabs for people, whatever I wanted to do. I was always taking wholesaler reps out to Orioles games and things. It was just, um, it was, I thought it was awesome. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? To be honest with you, I wore a cool PBR golf shirt to work every day and flip flops, and I would just roll around town, and I knew everybody from every bar and
You
every
were the
beer
fun
distributor.
guy.
I've been the fun guy my whole life. And I put on that show. I thought I was Jimmy Buffett for a long time. I
Oh,
had a
man.
traveling tiki bar as a side business, a trailer we would pull around town and rent out for parties and stuff. I was alcohol, you know what I mean? I was the guy that always had the cooler everywhere that would bring, you know what I mean, was out
Mhm.
drink everybody all the time. Nobody could drink as much as me. I never stopped. I would stay up all hours of the night when everybody else went to bed. I'd be the first one up, kicking ass the next morning, and you know what I mean, getting stuff done and drinking. And so I I was a 12 to 20. I always say now, now that I'm sober and looking back on it, there's no way to quantify it in any way of an average of a habit of a whatever. I say now, looking realistically, I was a 12 to 20 drink a day drinker every day for 20 years. And some days I had two, some days I had four, some days I didn't drink, some days I had 28, some days I had 32. It
Mhm.
just depended on what was going on. But it
Mhm.
was it was at that point through my late 20s, early 30s. When I would get up to go out and run my sales calls for the day, and I was bored and didn't want to do it because it was mundane and it was Tuesday morning or whatever. I was stopping and getting a pint at my first sales call of liquor, of Smirnoff, and two 12-ounce cans of Red Bull, and I was pouring them. I would drink it like coffee in the morning. I was just rolling around drinking, driving every day, all day, just making my sales calls, stopping in the bars, making sales, doing stuff.
So let's hang on, Notch. Let's back up for just a second. Let's get a little bit of a. I'd like to go, if you don't mind.
Yeah,
I'd
yeah,
like
you do
to
ship
go
here.
to back up a little bit. Tell me, are you do you have siblings? Tell me about your. Tell me the workings of your family. Just growing
I'm
up.
an only child. My parents divorced when I was 7. Both my parents were alcoholics,
Okay, that's what I was looking for. Wondering
that
where the connection.
recovered when they were that quit drinking when I was very young, 3, 4, 5 years old, because they didn't want me to go down the road of alcoholism
Oh
and do that,
wow.
whatever. So through my
Okay.
teenage years and stuff, it was always, you're very predisposed to this. You got to be careful with this. This is how you get off track, whatever. And I was really a late bloomer, to be honest with you. I really didn't drink in high school or anything. It was pretty much about senior year of high school, 17, 18 years old, when I started to dabble with drinking a little bit. And by 19 or 20, I was pretty much driving to Ocean City with my friends every weekend with a couple 30 packs in the trunk and drinking the whole way to the beach and doing all that and partying all weekend down there and coming
That's
back. And I
very
really hit the
interesting.
ground running when I was about 19 or 20.
Right. That's very
Um,
interesting because there's a which I don't think it's a debate. I think it's a stupid debate, quite frankly. But alcoholism addiction is not there are some that think there's not a genetic predisposition type thing, that it's not genetic, which I call bullshit on. Which again, at least from the little bit that you've told me, case in point, you didn't grow up dealing with mom and dad coming home falling down drunk, passing out, and all this stuff. And as a matter of fact, they tried to educate you on
yeah.
this is kind of what the deal is, you watch out for. And you still became susceptible to the disease, and it's just, I mean, if the biggest thing is, it's not your fault. It's not. It's just. I mean, there comes a point in time where there's responsibility, but it's not your fault. The genetics, man, play such a huge role in this disease.
I have an uncle that's a very heavy alcoholic that quit at the same time my parents did, that has grown into a multi-million-dollar tree business and everything, since then, built up this whole empire. I have a lot of alcoholics in my family, and several of them that have recovered and whatever. And then that's what he said. He says, you come by it honestly.
Mm-hmm.
Or I've been told I'm a thoroughbred in that
Mm-hmm.
sense,
Mm-hmm.
genetically predisposed, right?
Wow. Okay.
Um, so that being said, I made a living out of it. I made a career out of drinking. I never. put myself in a job or position that I couldn't drink pretty much whenever I
Were
wanted
you
to.
aware of that at the time, or were you just doing the deal? I mean,
No, I thought it was business. I thought I was a really good salesman, and I thought it was, and it was in that industry. It's common. All the sales managers were out drinking all the time. All
mhm,
the, you know what I mean? It was, if you could handle it and do it and go about your business and execute business and drink, it was tough. It was manly. It was cool. It was, you were a professional. The people that couldn't do it and couldn't hang in there didn't last in our
I was gonna say,
business.
I was just
You
about
know
to
what I
ask you
mean?
that. So the ones that couldn't handle their liquor, or quite frankly, didn't like it or whatever, they didn't make a
They
living in
weren't the
that
ones that
profession.
were, 8,
Gotcha,
10-year, 12-year veterans in the beer business
gotcha.
like I was
It,
rolling on,
right.
and then you get to the Hilton in New York City for some crew drive from Paps, and you're out at martini bars all night, all company expense paid, everything, and you're sitting with the old 55, 60-year-old veterans that have been doing it for 30 years at the bar, and you were promising. You were a 35-year-old up and comer, you know what I mean? That could, you know what I mean? That had a
You got
big
to play the
future in this
part.
business and all that. Yeah,
Mm,
that was kind of where I was at with it, you know what I mean? And
wow.
I took a lot of pride in a lot. I really thought I had a lot of ego. I didn't think I did, but in looking back, I would probably had a lot of unresolved ego in me. But I was really proud of myself that I could do everything I could do while drinking as much as I did. You
Mm-hmm.
know what I mean? And get through a
Mm-hmm.
whole work week and get up and mow the lawn Saturday and mulch
Right.
the yard and take care of the business and go play soccer with my son and I was drinking all weekend too. You know what I mean? Taking him to
So
the
they
pool. I was
call that
really
a
drinking.
functioning.
Highly functional alcoholic when
Mm-hmm.
a lot of alcohol. I mean, there's different levels, but yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I pretty much went through life at a 2.0, 3.0 BAC, I think,
Wow.
constantly, all day, every day, most all the time. There wasn't many days that I wasn't drinking.
Mm.
And I made it look good. You'd go a cookout and have 4 or 5 Miller Lights, you know what I mean, around the pool and talk to people and have good conversations. And I always had a sleeve of Fireball in the console of my truck or under the seat, and I would go out to get something out of the truck and pop 2 or 3 of them down and go back and start talking to people. I mean, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I masked 16 drinks in an afternoon really well as far as doing everything I needed to do and just drive home and do whatever. It's
Right.
just
Right.
I felt really uncomfortable and uneasy if I didn't have alcohol in my system. You
Wow.
started to get me into 3, 4, 5, 6, 8 hour, 10 hour a day sober, where I just had to go about my business and do my regular stuff sober, and it just started to itch. It was like
Crawl out of your
I
skin.
feel anxiety, I feel stress, I don't know how to, it just, yeah, I just didn't feel comfortable ever.
Mm-hmm.
I knew a few drinks in me would make me just focused and mellow, and that I could go about my business.
Make you feel
My
normal.
my source of happiness. I've seen quotes and stuff, yeah, that say, um, beer makes me feel like normal people are supposed to, or
Right.
whatever. You know what I
Right.
mean? There's
Mm-hmm.
memes and stuff, but yeah, it did. It was like I
I get
needed
it.
it.
I get
Needed
it.
it.
Mm-hmm. I get it.
Um, so that got into my early 30s and stuff, and I got married and bought a house and had my first son and was working those jobs and all that, and it just I guess there was a point in time that I missed from my 20s and partying and all that, where you're supposed to grow up or grow out of it maybe, or your life, and I just went about an adult life. You know what I mean? I was taking my kids to school and soccer and doing all the thing. I just drank all the time, and it became part of my normal. I've heard quotes and stuff decades ago that said one guy said years and years ago, it always stuck with me. He said there was one point where I went from bragging about how much I was drinking to hiding how much I was drinking.
Oh,
You know
yeah,
what I
that's
mean?
good.
And
Ugh,
he said, I don't know when that line was, but I'm pretty sure I was drunk when I crossed it. That's what
right.
he said in the meeting. But yeah, it was. It was like it just became, and the fun went out of it. It became where it was like really a party and really enhancing everything. To it was just I don't feel good unless I'm doing this. If I'm doing this, I feel normal. But it wasn't even like I was having a great time.
Hmm.
The hangovers and stuff get to be so much that it was like, okay, I drank 8 beers last night because I was stressed out and life's stressful and whatever, and I got to sleep and whatever, and I just feel miserable this morning. So Maybe I'll wait till this afternoon. Maybe I won't. I don't know. But I know when I do start drinking again, that's going to go away and I'm not
Mhm.
going to be miserable. And some of the hangovers are so, so terrible that I couldn't even find. I was like, I can't literally. Those were the mornings. I was like, I could barely peel myself. I would throw up every day. The first thing I do when I get in the shower, like you would like brush your teeth or something, I would just throw up stomach acid, bright
Oh.
yellow, like there was nothing left to throw up. And I was just like, you talk about justification and rationalization, like you got to be sick. You got to be mentally sick to be where I was and think that was normal. You know what I mean? But I was like, that's just the cost of doing business. You know what I mean? I drink. That's what I do. I'm a drinker. Um, I'll throw up this every morning. You
So
know what
what
I
how
mean?
was your marriage during this time? Did your wife drink?
My wife, I'm in the middle of going through a divorce, so I want to be careful what I say. But yeah, she was always a real heavy drinker, and she I was a crazy drink. I would go to the Redskin playoff game, and she would tell me, "All right, don't drink too much, please. I'm not going to drink too much, okay?" And I would go down there and drink a fifth in the parking lot before the game, go in, get in a fight with a Seahawks fan, get thrown out of the game, fight six PG County cops in the parking lot, get arrested, get sent to PG County jail, spend the night there, have to call, why didn't you come home, whatever.
Yeah,
I mean, this is I got a half a dozen of those stories
sure.
over 6 or 7 years there, bad ones, war stories, forever. But she was never crazy. She didn't go out and drink and drive. She didn't whatever. She was 8 to 10 glasses of wine every night on the back deck and just sitting out there and chilling. Like, so she was a heavy, heavy box wine drinker all the time, And I kind of was like, well, if she's not upset with me, I guess I'm not doing too bad. You know what I mean? Like I
Mm.
gave my barometer was the
Who's
whole
mad
thing
at me?
was
Yeah.
toxic and dysfunctional. Yeah, it was just I don't know. A lot of times I would just stay out of her way so I could drink as much as I wanted to. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
I'd be playing video game golf on my phone in the bedroom or something, and she'd be out on the deck drinking. We wouldn't be talking to each other. You know what I mean?
Right.
Just
Right.
it just wasn't a good marriage. All
Mhm.
this, and maybe looking back on it, maybe it was all my fault. Maybe it was all my drinking. Maybe it was a combination. Maybe I don't know. It's really hard to rehash 10 years
Oh,
of
sure.
marriage in 2 minutes or whatever. But everything we did, just life was every weekend. My in-laws, the pool parties. Man, there's a lot of pool. Just we just maybe me and my brother-in-law, her younger brother, were always drinking more than everybody else. We were the ones we would sneak it. They would send us up to the grocery store to get corn on the cob or something. You know what I mean? We'd be gone for an hour and a half because we we wouldn't be to the end of the driveway, and it was who was pulling fireball shots out of their pants pockets. You
Oh,
want one? You
jeez.
want one? You know what I
Yep.
mean? We'd be popping them going down the street, and we'd stop at the liquor store, and then we'd stop at the bar next to the grocery store, and then we'd stop. You know what I mean? We'd start telling stories. We'd run into somebody there. It was just crazy all the time. You know what I mean? I just normalized it all in my mind. It was just the way I
Mhm.
lived. But it got down to it got bad. It got bad, and it got worse and better. And in 2014 I was 2 or 3 years into my marriage, and had a young son and whatever. And I had gone to a wedding. My mother drove me there. She picked me up. It was a family wedding. I said, "You pick me up. I'll ride with you." We went there. We went to this family wedding, and I wasn't supposed to be drinking. At the time I was playing sober. I was in and out of during these couple years. For I would get a couple 30 days sober, and then I would start sneaking drinks again, and I would whatever. I was really trying to when everybody knew I had a problem and it was starting to become a prevalent problem, you know
Mhm.
what I mean? And I was taking steps to fix it and stuff, trying to very unsuccessfully. And yeah, we got back from this wedding, and I was hammered, and my wife had already gone to sleep, and I was sitting on the couch watching Sports Center, and I was bored, and I was still wearing my suit and tie and everything from the wedding. And so I said, well, I'm going to run up to the sports bar up the street and play some Keno and have some drinks. You know what I mean? Everybody's sleeping anyway. So I was went to drive up there, and I was looking at my phone, and I hit a curb and broke my tie rod on my car and whatever. My car wouldn't move, and I said, shoot, well. So I locked the car and I left it in the middle of the road, and I walked to the bar. and I went to the bar, and then I went to come back, walk home from the bar, and the police were there, and the tow truck, and all these things, and whatever, and they were around my car. And I said, well, I got to go the back way. So here I'm 33 years old, regional manager for Pabst Brewing Company, making over 100 grand a year. You know what I
Trying
mean?
to
With this
figure
nice
out the
house
back
and
way.
stuff and whatever. Yeah, I'm jumping over people's chain link fences to their backyard, tearing my suit up and stuff,
Oh
trying to get
shit.
home. You know what I mean? So I didn't get
And
arrested.
avoid the yeah. Mm-hmm.
I get almost, back past the shopping center toward my house, and I'm walking along, and a state trooper is pulls up beside me, and he says, I got to talk to you. And I said, you don't need to talk to me about anything. I'm just walking home. And he said, we got a report of an accident up the street. And I said, well, I don't know anything about any accident up the street. He said, well, we have a witness says there's a bald guy in a suit got out of his car and left, and you're a bald guy in a suit walking home. So I got to talk to you. So I looked at him, he looked at me, and I took off running. I don't know what I was going to do, but I felt like I was going to beat him home to my back door and run
No,
inside.
you did not.
He was like 23. He was fit. He ran me down, tackle. Next thing I know, I got 6 state troopers. I'm fighting them in the IHOP parking lot. You know what I mean? 2 blocks from my house. You know what I
Oh
mean? So
man.
I get arrested. So it's stuff like that. So I never come home that night. Yeah, I'm in like Carroll County Jail this time. You know what I mean? So my wife wakes up. I'm not there. I have no car. No, it's just stuff like that. It was insanity. So that time I woke up the next day and decided I'm going to go away to rehab. That's I knew I was in a lot of trouble, and I knew I needed to quit drinking.
Okay,
So
so let's pause. Hang on, let's pause. So you knew you were in trouble, but did you know you were in trouble? Like, I mean, you knew you were in trouble with the law, but did you have any idea? Was anything playing through your head what mom and dad told you when you were in your teens that you have a predisposition? You got to be careful. Was any of that clicking during that time?
to be honest with you, I knew the whole time I was a raging alcoholic. I just
Really?
I had was completely yes, I was completely okay with that fact, or knew that fact, that to be a fact. And I just really, to be honest with you, I thought if you can just control it, if you can just not screw up and get arrested, if you can just not do the real stupid stuff, then you can continue to drink whenever you want and live this life, because it's the only thing that fuels you. It's the only thing that makes you happy. I really honestly felt like I was doing everything for everybody else all the time. All the chores, all the errands, all the good deeds, all the things. I was a great husband. I thought I was a great son-in-law. I thought a great dad. I thought, which I was. I put a lot of effort into being a great guy, and I thought that's who I was. None of it had anything to do with God or anything. It was
Mm-hmm.
just me being a good Samaritan, a good guy.
Mm-hmm.
And I was miserable inside. I was absolutely miserable inside and unfulfilled, and didn't know how you could be happy in this world or happy in life. But I knew drinking made me happy, made me feel okay. So I had to figure out how I could live and live with the luxury of drinking whenever I wanted to. I had to maintain that, and I had to not screw up enough that was going to be taken away from me. If I was going to go to rehab and quit drinking and all that, then I wasn't going to be able to drink anymore, and I didn't know how I was going to live without that.
So when you made the decision, or when you thought, okay, I'm going to go to rehab, did you worry about your job? Did that
So
was that a factor? And it's like, shit, if I do
I
this, I can.
I was maybe to a detriment to me, but work I could always work the system. I could always figure out a way. And so a company like Pabst Brewing Company or something, they're in an HR predicament in that kind of thing. Or I got the sense that they were. Like, if an employee has a drinking problem, they need to extend themselves to help them or do something. It wasn't just, oh, you're fired, you whatever.
Right.
So they paid me full salary for 30 days to go away. I had great health insurance. My health insurance paid for me to go away, covered the entire cost of it for 30 days. Um, and then when I
When
got
it- when
back,
was when was this? What year was this?
this was summer of 2014.
Got it.
And so I was going to go away for 30 days, fix myself, come back, and get back to work. I wasn't going to do an IOP. I wasn't going to go to a halfway house. I was like, I got a career. I got a job, a high paying job. I got a family to support. I'm going to go spend these 30 days and get right and come back and drink and not drink, but do my job and do my things and what it's insanity to think about it as a
Well,
plan.
but you know
I
what
didn't have
though?
a
It's
plan, but
insanity to think about now, but when you're in it, you and that well, yeah, that is the disease because I totally get it. I mean, that sounds like a perfect plan to me. I mean, you go
it
away,
was
you
the only job skill I had. It's what I had spent 13 years building myself up into this position. I didn't want to give
right.
up my job,
And as long as you're not drinking, what, the problem solved, right?
Right.
So you go away for 30 days, get it
So
out of your system and
that did that. I came back. I got into I was going a couple nights a week. I got a home group. I got a sponsor who was the old veteran guy at my home group. I worked through the 12 steps with him, which were very textbook. Like I was a student taking a college course. I put very much effort and heart into taking it seriously. I had to quit drinking. I had a big problem. I remember at 100 days sober, honestly. I do remember that milestone. It was about 3.5 months. I remember the first drink I took.
so
It was at
take me
Casper.
to that day. Take me to that day. Hang on a minute. So you were how many days?
I know I had 100 because I remember putting it on Facebook and saying, "Okay, I'm 100
Yay
days sober,"
me.
making a thing, yeah,
Yep.
yeah, yeah,
So
and whatever.
it's
So that's 3.5 months, and it was a few days after that that
so
I went and had.
take me to day 99. I mean, were you rocking and rolling, feeling strong? Tell me about that just
No,
prior
it
to.
felt every time I ever tried to quit, it was an immense building pressure of, okay, I got 38 days, I got 45 days, I got 72 days. This is great, but I don't feel comfortable ever. I feel like I'm trying really hard to stay sober every day. I really want to drink inside. I know how amazing it would feel just to sit back in my chair and have a big cold beer and let that hit my bloodstream and let all my worries go away and let me
Hmm.
relax and whatever. That's what I really want to do. I can't do that because I'm just out of pure discipline and drive and effort. I'm doing the right thing for myself. I'm quitting. I'm whatever. But everything about me wanted to drink
So you
still.
were a ticking time bomb,
Yeah, yeah,
basically.
absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
So I went.
Mm-hmm.
I went to Castle Liquors in Mount Airy. I got a 24-ounce Sierra Nevada
So what
bottle.
made you hang on because you don't just go there. What I'm interested to hear from you not just is what happened in that moment because you had some days. I mean, was there any type of an argument? Was there any type of a bad day? Was there any what because you all of a sudden were at a liquor store.
If I'm being honest with you, I felt like everything had cooled down enough. Everybody was starting to be proud of me, pat me on the back. Had kind of fixed my life. I was doing a lot better. I wasn't in trouble anymore in my mind as whatever. And I wasn't planning on starting to drink again publicly. I wasn't planning on saying I'm drinking again to anybody. I was going to hide it. It was totally going to be hidden. I was the only one that was going to know about it. Me and God. I just wanted that feeling again. I wanted to
Mm-hmm.
go drink that 24-ounce beer and let it hit my bloodstream and feel relaxed. I had an afternoon to myself when nobody was around. I wasn't going to see anybody for several hours, so I could let it wear off before anybody got home and smelled it or knew it or whatever. So I was just going to get that one and drink that one, and I did. And I drank that one, and I threw the bottle into the woods so nobody would find it, so the recycle bin or whatever, you know what I mean? And that was the one I got that out of the way. And then I
So
don't
you
know,
got
maybe
away
it was
with that one.
a week. We got away with that one. Maybe it was a week or two later that I did. Okay, well, I got that one. Now I can have four because I got an 8 hour period when nobody's going to see me or talk to me. Or I'm going to be in bed before anybody else gets home. So if I drink six before I go to bed, by the time I get up, nobody's going to know that I had six before I went to bed. And that's just
That's
immediately,
a lot of planning. That's a lot of
Christine,
planning.
that is the most minimal amount of planning, what I just described, compared to the planning that I did down the road when
Oh.
it got bad, 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 bad. I mean, my everywhere I went, every event I went to, every wedding that I was supposed to be not drinking at. I figured out how to hide vodka in my socks, in my whatever, you know what I mean? I had vodka hidden everywhere like a
Mm-hmm.
freaking squirrel, you know what I mean? In
Oh,
my
I 100%
suitcase in
hear
my
you.
master bedroom, I had one in my safe in my office, I had one behind the seat of my
Inside the
truck.
boots is a great place.
Wherever I was gonna be, I could there was another place I could go where somebody else wasn't, you know what I mean? It was hidden in the rafters of the house. I mean, I had vodka everywhere for years.
Mm.
And it was just a swig here and there. I go down in the basement to check the laundry. I'd go find my one in the paint cans in the storage area and take a big swig of that, and then I'd go back up and get back to making dinner or whatever. You know
So, are
what I
you
mean?
still working in the industry at this time?
I worked in the industry. So when I got back from rehab for a couple months and decided I can't do this job and not drink, my family owns a income tax and bookkeeping firm, a small family business. My mother's been a CPA for 40 years. She was in her mid 60s and was going to hopefully retire soon. And she said, if you come here and learn the tax business, you can take over all my clients and all that and whatever, and it can be a good job for you. And yeah, so I went there and I left the beer business to pursue that, and I took the tax courses and learned how to do that and everything for a couple years, and I hated it. I hated everything about it, working in an office and doing tax work and whatever.
Well, I
And I
imagine
sucked it up
going from what you were,
for
yeah.
5 years and
That's
did
not
it,
fun.
but I wasn't sober. I would be drinking on the way home from the office. I would stop at the liquor store as soon as I left the office, and it took me an hour to get home. I would just mix up cocktails and drink the whole way home before I
Mm.
got home and had to deal with my wife and everything else in my life and whatever. And it just was chaos. I was doing that job and still drinking. I did, but I had so many friends and networked in the beer, all out wine, liquor. I mean, I knew people all over the industry. And so I was always doing samplings on the weekends. I would go make $150 to go work for Bold Rock Cider, pouring cider at a music festival. You know what I mean? Where you set up a tent and a cold plate, and that
Right.
would be a Saturday job I would go do for 4 hours to make $150 because it was good side money and all that. But all I was doing was going there and drinking all
Mm-hmm.
afternoon and getting paid for it. You know what I mean? And packing up my tent and my cooler and heading home. And it was just so I always kept tied into the alcohol industry. Even during those few years. And I finally quit the tax office in 2020, the beginning of 2020. A good friend of mine from the beer business, we had been managers together for the beer distributor. He branched out and started his own business, which was a sampling agency. So we were a third party agency that the beer companies would hire to go and execute beer samplings in Wegmans and Harris Teeter and major grocery chains and stuff. So he offered me a position as a regional manager for him, covering 4 states, which I would do all the hiring, run my territory, get all the contracts, make sure to train the employees, make sure the jobs were executed well, turn in the reports, recap everything. And that was going to be a home office job where I got to work from home, cover 4 states, Zoom interview new potential clients, do all that. Work in my built. That's where I built
Because
this home
COVID
office
was
in my
this
basement.
is just as COVID was taking off.
This was January of 2020. I got that
So
job.
yeah, before about 3 months before. Okay.
And so that turned into me sitting in my basement, drinking, working all day, drinking, you know what I mean? Doing my job, whatever. And then March of 2020, I had that job for 3 months and COVID came in hot and heavy. And the company got shut down because all the stores suspended all the in store samplings and everything.
Sure.
But it's not something we're going to do.
Wow.
So we were out of business. So I went on unemployment. I had a mortgage that was behind. I had this crazy. You couldn't go out anywhere. You couldn't go to stores. The gyms were shut down. What you could go to the grocery store and the liquor store were basically in
Yeah,
my town
imagine that.
to go
Yeah,
to.
liquor
And so I
stores
would.
were.
I would go
Mm-hmm.
once a week to the grocery store and stock up on a ton of liquor and White Claw and everything else. And I would load up what I thought was enough for a week ended up being enough for 2 or 3 days. And I would be back up at the liquor store stocking up another. I was drinking probably a case a day of White Claw cans for whatever reason at that time. They had just come out the variety pack, and I always had a handle smearing off as backup. Um, but yeah, I was drinking 25, 30 drinks a day, easy. during those COVID days. I was laid off. You couldn't even go get a job. I didn't think. I just thought the
Mhm.
world was ending, and you know what I mean. My life was like I had no God, no faith in anything. No, I was just like, but I'm going to lose my house. I'm going to lose my job. I don't know what's going to happen here, though. I don't even know what's going to happen with the world. They're shutting down the NBA and the NFL and all these. Like the world's over. Like I didn't know
Mhm.
what was going to happen. I just drank more than ever. So that spiraled out of control real fast. And then my wife left, and I was by myself and sharing custody with my kids and doing things. So unemployment was running out by the end of that summer or fall and all this. And so I had to go get a job. So I got a job with a local microbrewery, a little small brewery, doing sales for them, and I was bartending at a bar up the street, my off nights to try to make up extra income, you know what I mean? Just all friends, just relationships I already had, people that were willing to offer me a job. I was just trying to find work, honestly. I didn't know what to do. And you can imagine that it just got nuts for a couple years. And then my wife was off with this other guy, and I was heartbroken and ripped up about that. And it just, I was in a bad place, man. And it spiraled from that point, COVID 2020 up through 20, pretty much the beginning of 2022. I quit the job at the little microbrewery because I wasn't making any money there, and I got a job bartending full time. Pretty much, I had my boys 3 days a week on shared custody. I bartended the other 4 days a week that I didn't have them. That was my schedule, and I was kind of the head bartender. Worked 4 main shifts a week at this place. And honestly, I didn't know what I was going to do. I was getting divorced. I was making as little money as I ever had in my life. My kids were growing up. I was fat and miserable. I was 225 pounds of pure body fat. I freaking double chin, big, you know what I mean? Like I just was miserable. I was terrible looking. I couldn't get out of bed. If I wasn't working or didn't have my kids, I just wanted to sleep. I was so depressed and miserable. Like I didn't know what to do with myself. I was in the worst spiritual terror. Like it wasn't my worst rock bottom, um as far as getting drunk and fighting cops and going to jail and all like the craziest stuff I've done, which was a tremendous amount of it. But it was honestly the most
Mentally. Mhm.
broken I had ever been. Like I was suicide. I was extremely suicidal. I was back and forth in my head every day. You know, why are you even doing this? Like if you are gonna, well, I'll fast forward right to 2020. To March. I got fired from my bartending job on St. Patrick's Day because I got too hammered at work on my St. Patrick's Day shift, and they sent me home. And so that sent me into a 5 day bender. I was like, well, I don't have a job anymore. So I might as well just keep drinking for this weekend, and then next week I'll find another job or whatever. I was very matter of fact about it. I was like, all right, well, you got to get back on your horse here, go find another job. You got to, but it wasn't, quitting drinking still wasn't in my plans at all. You know what I mean? I would tell everybody, yeah, I'm a raging alcoholic, but it's what I do. I drink. It's my life. I'm taking care of my kids. I'm
Mhm.
paying my bills. Whatever. It's what I do to make my. And I wasn't alone. Those bars that I was hanging out all the time were full of guys just like me doing the
Right.
same things,
Misery loves
complaining about
company.
their ex-wife, complaining about how bad this sucked and that sucked and whatever. And can I buy you a drink? Yeah, you're my buddy, man. Like I had I had a lot of company, you know what I mean? But that's the company I kept. Those are
Mhm.
the environments and situations and people, places and things I kept myself in. Made it easier to live my life. And I got to that weekend that I got fired and all that, and I drank a handle of Smirnoff a day every day for 5 straight days. I drank a handle Friday, handle Saturday, handle Sunday, a
So for
handle
people
Monday.
who don't know what that means, tell us what a handle is.
A half gallon,
Yep.
54 ounces of vodka, a day. It equates to about 30 some drinks, 33, 34 drinks or whatever's in it.
Mhm.
I had that much vodka a day for pretty much just around the clock. I would wake up just pouring sweat, couldn't sleep. I would go in the bathroom, throw up a few times, come back, lay back down. My pillow was soaked in sweat, and turn the fan on, sleep for an hour. I'd wake up trembling, go back, throw up, go downstairs, think about what I'm doing, mix up a vodka orange juice, drink it, it would calm my nerves. I go back to sleep for 3 or 4 hours or something like that. It just was I was dying. My
Mhm.
organs were shutting down, to be honest with you. Anyways, I get to that weekend and I'm laying on my bathroom floor in that situation I just described, naked, puke all over myself, uh, literally WebMDing. Like I should go to the hospital. I really don't want to go through all that, sit in the emergency room all night just to sober up and come back home. Like I was white knuckling it. I should have been in medical detox, for the 20th time in my life. I probably had
Mhm.
been in that serious a condition where I was like, only should I go to the hospital? Should I? And I never did. I just would tough it out every time and get the next day and go about my business. But that night, I literally, it was the first time I thought about suicide a lot. It was a coin flip to me. I said, if you really do this, if you really kill yourself, who's going to be upset? Your parents will be upset. Your boys will be upset. Your sons. Outside of that, whatever. Um, you know, and that hurt me. That made me almost not want to do it. But I was like, if you can't stop drinking, all they're going to do is watch you drink yourself to death over the course of the next year, year and a half, whatever it may be. Anyway, so are you really? If you are going to drink yourself to death anyways, if you do it tonight or you do it from a year from now, is anyone be going to feel any different or be less sad? It's going to be like, oh, alcoholism got the best of him. He drank himself to death.
Mhm.
Saw it coming, whatever. I'd make peace with that conclusion of the world. Still, no God, no other outside thought of anything other than what will these couple people in my life think, and if you're going to do it, how are you going to do it? I didn't have the courage to shoot myself or anything like that. And I said, well, obviously, if I'm going to do it, I'm just going to drink myself to death. I'm just going to keep drinking a handle a day until it's over. If I have to Google some medication, some pain pills, something that'll actually kill me and take that while I'm drinking to make sure it happens, then
Mhm.
I can do that. I'm smart enough to do that, but to do it. So I laid on the floor that night and I said, "But if you're not going to do it, you got to change everything. There's no point in if you're not going to do it. There's no point in waiting a year to drink yourself to death and just being even more miserable over the course of the next year." And I prayed to God, looking at my ceiling, and I prayed to God with everything I had. I said, just take, I said, I cannot do this anymore. I'm going to kill myself, God. I talked to God my whole life. He was always there, but I never knew who he was or never, it was just a general. I would get home at night and lay in bed and say, thank you, God, for me not getting a DWI tonight because I drove an hour and a half home, wasted
Mhm.
around 15 cops and whatever else and never got pulled over or anything. Thank you, God, because I didn't want to deal with the consequences of that. That was my conversations with God, where I ran my car off a road into a cornfield and slid and almost hit a tree trunk. And I stopped 2 feet short of the tree trunk that would have killed me. And said, thank you, God, that I didn't hit that tree because I'm good now. You know what I mean? Those were my
Mhm.
conversations with God. But I prayed to him. I said, I will do whatever it takes. I'll do whatever it takes. I'll do anything. You just have to remove the obsession from me. I can't get up every day and feel this uncomfortable obsession that I have to drink. Like, you have to take the obsession away from me. Make me not want to do it. Just make it so it's possible for me to do this. And I'll do whatever it takes, whatever. And I got up the next day and I quit drinking. And I told myself I was going to do it for 8 weeks. I had been to the doctor 2 times in the prior 5 years, and I knew my organs were shutting down, and I knew I was in terrible health, and he would give me these blood panel LabCorp slips to go get a blood panel done, and I had one in the console of my truck for 2.5 years, and then I went back and got another physical, and he said, "Did you ever do that?" I said, "No, it's been in my truck for 2.5 years." And he gave me I said, "I still got it, though." He said, "No, I'm gonna give you a new one." And he said, don't. He said, "Go do this one though." I said, "Okay." So I carried that one around for about 2 years and never did it. And I think I just didn't want to know the results, to be
Mhm.
honest with you. And so I told myself, if I'm going to be so, if you cannot drink for 8 weeks, then you're going to go get your blood test done and see if you're clear, if your liver regenerated, if you're in better health now, whatever. Give yourself 8 weeks. So I needed a new job. I had a buddy who gave me a job. He owns an asphalt paving company, outdoor construction. We do concrete work, drainage, retaining walls, kind of stuff. So I started an entry level job with him with the agreement that I would go get my CDL license and I could drive a dump truck for him or whatever. And I started. This was April of 2022. It'll be 1 year this week, and every week it was Wednesday week 2. It's Thursday week 3. This is Friday week 5. So you just got to do 8 weeks, man. And every night I would do push-ups before bed. I'd start eating healthy. I cut out all the sugar. I cut out all the fried foods. I cut out everything. I just started working my ass off and not drinking every day. And I lost 65 pounds in the first 6 months,
Take me
just
back.
purely of
Hang on,
not
Notch.
drinking.
Take me back to that bathroom floor. When you said you talked to God, what did you say to him? What was that
I just said
conversation?
it's
And
one
did
or
he
the
say
other.
something back at
I
when he came
knew it
back
was
to
the
you?
devil. I knew it was the devil the whole time. I knew the devil. I had this vision of myself, of this great person that I should be. I should be thin. I should be in shape. I should be fun to talk to. I should be doing all these fun projects and things in my life and these little companies and businesses I want to start and all this. And everything should think highly of me and whatever. That's who I'm supposed to be. But I can't be that person if I'm drinking. But I have no choice. I have to drink. So I'm never going to be that person. This just is what it is. And I knew it was the devil. I understand God's plan for me now, and the devil, and the devil just had me like that. Like all he had to do was have me on alcohol, and he could keep me from anything God ever wanted me to be. And so that conversation with God was, I want to be that person. I want to be who you want me to be. I want to be who I'm supposed to be. I'll do whatever it takes to be that person. Like it was almost like I'll get into the story later, but it was surrender. It was literally surrender. And it was the control thing. All this time prior and all that I said I'd surrendered control and all that, done and said I didn't understand the concept.
Sure.
I didn't understand what that
You
meant.
weren't capable then. You
That
weren't.
was
Yeah.
me literally surrendering, saying, I give up. I'll do whatever. And I look back on that moment now. I didn't know it for 6 months after that. That was me surrendering, turning over control to God that night.
Mm.
And so I did. Long story short, I started working my ass off. I got to about 7 or 8 weeks sober. I said, I can't believe it. I didn't think I could get through one day, one afternoon not drinking, 4 hours. I didn't think I could ever not drink. And it's been 7.5 weeks. I can't believe it. Like, this is my chance. This is my one chance to live. If I don't make this work, it's over. Like, I have to make this work. And so about 7 or 8 weeks in, I said, I think I'm going to get some help. Like, you said you would do anything. So I said, I've been to for years and years and years. And that, like, I know going to meetings, you work it, and you hold hands and you stand around. I don't know if that, it's just never done anything for me. Like, I don't know. Like, I think I'm going to start going to church. And so I started going to this one church, and I didn't like it that much. It was all right. It wasn't really doing it for me. And I met this girl, and she said she went. I had a huge crush on her, and she said she went to this other church. I said, well, maybe I'll try going to that church. and and
Whatever it
I knew
takes.
I knew about that church, and I knew the pastor there from a past experience, from a funeral he had done from a nephew of mine who had died of a heroin overdose, and he did the funeral and whatever. And I got down there, and he started loving on me the first day I walked in, and hugging me and getting his arm around me and talking to me. And I just said, I'm gonna come to church next week. And they have a celebrate recovery group there on Monday nights, um, called Freedom Makers. It's Difference Makers Church in Damascus, Maryland. Saved my life. And so I went the first Sunday and met a couple guys. A guy got baptized there, my buddy JD, and he said, I said, I'm new here and this and that. He said, oh, come to Freedom Makers tomorrow night. So I started coming to the recovery group, and I have gone every week since July. I've gone to church Sunday and Freedom Makers Monday night every single week for the last 9 months, and it's completely transformed my entire life. But and it's just where every single day got better. I was like, if you don't drink, every single day is going to get better, and it
Mm-hmm.
has since then. And it was funny. I got that was in the beginning of July. By the middle of August, I said, I want to get baptized. That makes sense. So I got baptized, and I had made these decisions to stop, and I was still having a just ungodly sexual relationship. I was sinning left and right outside of drinking. I had no concept really of sin or what you know what I mean. I was like, well, if I'm not drinking, I can do whatever else I want, pretty much, to
Mhm.
sins of the flesh to make myself feel good or whatever. I just can't drink. Um, and as I started going to church each week and listening to these sermons and doing everything, and I went to get baptized August 21st of last year, and Pastor Clark Basden was getting ready to dunk me in that water, and he was saying his little thing, and he said the word precedent for some reason. It was 3 moments. I talked for 15 minutes on my testimony, and there was 3 moments of that whole thing was a blur that I remember. And one was looking at my mother came to it, and it was looking at her in the crowd. She was just shaking her head like in disbelief when I was telling my testimony. I remember seeing her for a minute. I remember looking up at one time. It's an open outdoor church. It's real cool. And there was a guy standing in the doorway, listening intently, resting against the doorway. He's listening to what I was saying with sunlight behind him, a silhouette standing there. I caught his eye, put me in eye contact for a minute. And and then Pastor Clark went to put me in the water, and he said, you're deciding whatever you're into, whatever Jesus is into, you're into, and you're setting a precedent for your life. He said the word precedent, however he said it, and it just clicked in my head. I said, you're doing this in front of all these people. You're making a decision here. It's about everything. You're deciding you're going to live different in every aspect of your life. And if you don't do it, you're going to look like an ass now because you're standing up here saying you're going to do it. And that word precedent just stuck with me. Every decision I make every day, what am I supposed to do here? What's the godly thing to do here? What's the right thing to do here? No matter what it is. And so he dunked me in that water, and I came out with my fists clenched and every muscle in my body clenched up. And I felt like I was about to take over the world, man. I just felt like this is it. This is a new beginning. I'm reborn, and it all starts fresh now. And I just started shedding the weight. I called the girl I was having the relationship with. I ended that. I realized I was the only guy in this group of Christian men that was cussing all the time. And I was like, I really cuss a lot. I didn't even know that because everybody I hang out with cusses all the time. I really got to work on that. I just started shedding everything, every sinful, wrong, detrimental thing I was doing in my life to myself. I just started shedding and making better decisions. And it's transformed me today to an entirely different person that I'm just I'm people don't even know who I am anymore. I'm a different person than I've been in the last 20 years. And it was funny. The guy that was standing in the doorway with the sunlight behind him ended up being my sponsor. I learned who he was. He was the pastor at
Really?
Clark's sponsor. He runs 3 recovery centers in the area. My nephew, who I said died of a heroin overdose, done the funeral. It was he married his girlfriend and had kids with her and everything. She goes to the church there now and everything. And So I started talking to him about recovery, about it. I said, I've done all this over the last 6 months. I haven't been to one meeting. I haven't done anything. And we went in my Celebrate Recovery group. One night, one of the leaders was like, we should do some 12-step stuff. Well, whatever. And does anybody know about the 12 steps or whatever? And I said, I've worked the 12 steps. I know all about them, whatever. I can't remember what they are, but let me look them up. I looked them up on my phone. I started reading through them, and I was shocked. I started reading them. I was like, wait a minute. I've done the first 3 steps. That's what I just did. That's what they were trying to get me to do this whole time, was turn over control, realize that I'm powerless, a God greater than me. Like, I was
Mhm.
like, that was the process. I just did it organically. Like, that's what they were trying to get me to do this whole time. Like, I'm a fool. And I really started looking at it. I was like, I'm on the 4th step. I was like, I'm at the 4th step. I did this 4th step with this guy 8 years ago, and it was this older guy, and I told him some stuff and some dirt and whatever, but I didn't tell him nearly hardly 10% of the stuff really that I did. All the grime and dirt and crap that I did in my life. I am to God. It's tell it to God and another human being. I said, well, God knows. God was there the whole time. God was in, you know what I mean? Whatever. So saying it out loud, I guess, is saying in front of God. But I need to say everything to another human being. And I picked him. I picked Matt Paris to be my sponsor, and I told him what I'd done. And he said, I asked him if he would, and he said he would love to. He would love to take that on with me, that project and whatever. So I'm starting right now the process of my fourth step, and it's so extensive from 20 years of just terror that I
Mm-hmm.
ranked on
Can be
everybody and
overwhelming.
everything around me and my own self and everything. I mean, I don't even know if I'm going to wrap it up, but it's good. It could take 20 hours. It could take 30 hours. I don't know what the process is going to be, but what I'm going to do is record myself. I'm going to video record myself going through this thing year by year as honestly as possible, every single year, every memory, every story, the dirt, the wrong, the trials and tribulations, what I did. And then I'm going to share those tapes with him. We're going to watch those tapes, and we're going to go through it all, and we're going to discuss it. And he's going to do what any sponsor does in a fifth step, I guess, and guide me through that process. And it's going to be a healing process for me to work through these things. I don't know. I don't know if I think I'm sober forever now. I don't see myself ever going back. My life is so joyous, happy, and free today. To be honest with you, where I couldn't get through a couple hours with a drink, I do not even think about alcohol on a daily basis. It's the furthest thing. If you I told my guys in my Celebrate Recovery group, a couple weeks ago, I said, you would literally have to fight me in the parking lot
Mm-hmm.
to make me take a drink of alcohol today.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's just something that, like, it's just a covenant I made with God. It's an unbreakable, and it's no there. There's nothing there's nothing I don't know about alcohol. I know exactly how it'll feel. I know exactly how it'll taste. I know exactly how I'll feel afterward. I know exactly the chemical process behind it, the science. I'm a smart guy. I know everything about alcohol. I did the whole time. I just couldn't get away from it.
Mm-hmm.
It had such a grip on me. I couldn't. I didn't know how I could move out it. And so now I know what it is just as well, but it doesn't have that grip on. Like, I see people drinking now, and I'm like, oh, why are you doing that to yourself? Like, do you know how much better you would feel and how much more fun, fulfilled life you would be doing if you did? I don't say it to them. I don't go around preaching it, whatever, where it's not so. But I'm just like, I just watch people and people that I hung out with, relatives, everybody. I'm like, man, you would be great, better looking, thinner, more happy, more whatever. You know what I mean? And it's not just about the alcohol; it's God. It's the people
Right.
that don't have God in their life. I'm like, oh man, you're missing it. You're missing, And I don't care. I was suicide. I didn't want to live anymore because I couldn't stand the weight of this world. Now I don't care if I die tomorrow. I don't care if I die a week from now. I don't care if I die 30 years from now, because I feel like I'm going to heaven now.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like to die is to gain now. I feel
Mm-hmm.
like I know what my next step is. So whatever, and I feel like the reason God kept me on this earth and why I'm privileged enough to be on this earth now, literally, I don't care if I'm rich, I'm poor, what kind of business like. I don't care. I just want to take care of my boys and be a good dad and all that, and be a good, got to be around. But my, like, God is calling me now to go grab all the other guys, all these guys that are a decade behind me, that are in their early 30s, that don't understand this,
Mm-hmm.
that are exactly who I was, that had no vision on it. If I can explain it to them somehow, maybe they'd be like, they can. If, I don't even know how to do that yet, because so many people tried to explain it to me and it made no sense.
Well,
So what
and
I'm
that's
going to do.
that's where where I'm excited for you, as far as where our conversation went. Because, and again, on this show, I mean, I can only give from my experience and what have you. But alcohol was not our problem, right? Alcohol was not the problem for me. My inability to live life on life's terms was my problem. Alcohol was my solution.
Without a doubt.
Every single time, alcohol was my solution. Take my solution away, right? Without analyzing and getting down in the dirt as far as why I needed that as a solution. Taking it away is one thing. That's beautiful. That's wonderful. That's great. But now what? Now, because life is still going to keep doing life, right? We're still going to have problems. So what I love about your willingness, Notch, and that's what I think drew me to you, is that you and I both had a spiritual experience. You know, mine happened in a car on March 14th, 2012 at approximately 11:35 a.m. I could tell you the parking spot I was in with this lady in the car with me when it happened. And I knew I would never drink again. I just knew it. It was the most bizarre thing on the planet. But then it's like, now what? Now what? You know? And so in getting into recovery, and as you have described that's your intention, I'm so excited for you for that, because you, and again, I just cannot wait to see what happens with you, because, oh darling, a whole new world. You know, if you are to be of maximum service to your fellows, if you are to, if you are to, and my higher power, I choose to call God. I believe in Jesus, and I believe that I am charged to try to be like Jesus. There's a big book that says that, right? Um, we are to go after and help those ones that we can with our experience, strength, and hope. And I think I just cannot wait to see what happens and what unfolds for you, and what you're going to be able to do with that is going to be it's going to be beautiful. It's going to be beautiful.
Well, I'm working through the steps now, and our plan, as we discussed, I'm going to go through the 12 steps, and I'm going to document the whole thing and all that. And I hope that when we get back together and check in,
You promised me you'd come to Waco,
I can
Texas.
report back onto how that's going and what I'm doing to help people, and where I'm at with it all.
Yeah, I want to hear all about it, and all that I can say to you and anyone that's listening. The recovery. It works. I mean, it just works. There is hope, and there is a magnificent. Yeah, I feel for you that you have only scratched the surface. You have
Yeah.
only, so just imagine. So getting your nose bloodied, your teeth kicked in, and what have you with this sponsor, dude, do it. No reservations, no holds back. Oh, I just got chills. And that's again why I'm doing this show. There is no shame. There is no shame, because if you believe in God, He will make every single thing that you have done, that you have said, all of the things that all the junk that's going to come up that's shameful. He's going to use it, man. He's going to use it to save more of His kids. And He
Yeah.
can use you once you have worked through all of those things and are able to, man, it's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing.
Absolutely.
So you told me that you would make it where we could do an in-person meeting once these steps have been worked through. So I'm
Yes,
gonna
without a doubt.
I'm gonna
When we
hold you to it.
schedule part 2 of the life recovery
Of
of Notch
Notch
Wilson,
W.
I'm gonna fly down to Waco, Texas, and we're gonna do it in studio.
That'll be fun. Rick and I'll take you out on the town and show you the big metropolitan city of Waco, Texas.
Yes, I'm very much looking forward to it.
Me too. Thank you so much for being on the show. I'm here for you. You can find Purpose Driven Sobriety anywhere you listen to your podcast. You can find us on social media. Mr. Notch, you're on social media. They can hunt you down if that's okay.
Yes, not Notch Wilson on Facebook. You can feel free to hit me up about anything recovery related. I have a lot of people recently that do reach out to me. I'm starting to get traction where people are just I'm becoming the guy around that has something to offer recovery wise, some knowledge and some insight. It seems like so.
People see what you
I'm
have. Yep, they see the
I'm
change.
happy to give that to anybody.
That's beautiful. Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, Christine.
All right, talk to you soon. Take care. Thanks for listening to Purpose Driven Sobriety. Keep coming back.